Theodor Pallady was one of the defining figures of modern Romanian painting, an artist whose career unfolded between the cultural worlds of Iași, Bucharest, Dresden, and Paris. Born in April 1871 into an old Romanian boyar family, with ties on his mother's side to the distinguished Cantacuzino lineage, he grew up in an environment marked by education, refinement, and strong social expectations. Those expectations pointed him toward a practical profession. Yet, from an early age, Pallady's temperament inclined toward observation, drawing, and the inner life of forms. That tension between disciplined structure and artistic sensitivity would remain central to his work for the rest of his life. His early education helped shape both sides of that character. After schooling in Bucharest, he was directed toward technical studies and continued on to Dresden, where he studied engineering at the Polytechnic. At the same time, however, he took art lessons with Erwin Oehme. This parallel training proved decisive. Engineering strengthened his sense of order, proportion, and construction, while painting opened the possibility of a life devoted to expression rather than calculation. Oehme recognized Pallady's talent and encouraged him to abandon the safer path of engineering in favor of art. The choice was not merely professional, it was a declaration of identity. By leaving engineering for painting, Pallady broke with family expectations and committed himself to a vocation that demanded both risk and independence. In 1889, he went to Paris, the city that would become the great laboratory of his artistic formation. There he entered the studio of Edmond Aman-Jean, a painter connected with symbolist circles, and later studied at the École des Beaux-Arts. He also worked in the orbit of Puvis de Chavannes, and most importantly, came under the influence of Gustave Moreau. In Moreau's studio, he encountered a generation of artists who would go on to define modern French painting, among them Henri Matisse, Georges Rouault, Albert Marquet, Henri Manguin, and Charles Camoens. Pallady did not simply absorb the lessons of Paris, he filtered them through his own intellectual temperament. The French avant-garde sharpened his visual language, but he never surrendered entirely to any school, preferring instead to build a personal style that balanced modern freedom with classical control. That independence is one of the most striking features of Pallady's biography. He lived through a period dominated by symbolism, post-impressionism, fauvism, and later various modernist currents, yet he remained difficult to classify. Critics and curators have repeatedly noted that his work stands apart for its introspective intelligence and structural clarity. He was deeply responsive to modern art, but not submissive to fashion. His paintings became known for restraint rather than spectacle, intimacy rather than theatricality, and measured harmony rather than excess. Even when his color grew brighter or more refined, it was governed by an underlying discipline. Pallady's was a modernism of lucidity, emotionally resonant, but never uncontrolled, sensuous, but always ordered. A crucial element in his artistic thought was his emphasis on drawing and line. Accounts from the period, including recollections tied to his friendship with Matisse, stress that Pallady valued line as the intellectual backbone of painting. Where Matisse increasingly exalted color, Pallady held that line carried spirit and structure. This conviction helps explain the distinct character of his art. Even when he painted intimate interiors, still lifes, flowers, landscapes, or figures, the organizing intelligence of the composition remained essential. His works often seem calm on the surface, yet beneath that calm lies a deliberate architecture. The engineer he once trained to be was never entirely lost. He survived within the painter as a guardian of proportion and coherence. Pallady's public career developed steadily from the turn of the century. He made his artistic debut in 1900 at the Paris Salon and the Exposition Universelle, exhibited in London in 1902, and held an important exhibition in Bucharest at the Romanian Athenaeum in 1904. These appearances established him not as a provincial artist borrowing Parisian language secondhand, but as a cultivated painter moving confidently between Romanian and French cultural spheres. Over the decades, he continued to show his work internationally, including exhibitions in Barcelona, The Hague, Amsterdam, Venice, Bern, and Zurich, while also maintaining a strong presence in Romania. His career thus unfolded on two intertwined stages: Paris, where he refined his art, and Romania, where his contribution became foundational to the evolution of modern painting. For much of the interwar period, Pallady lived in Paris, working from his studio at Place Dauphine. Yet his years in France did not sever his Romanian identity. On the contrary, he remained closely connected to Romanian intellectual and artistic circles, moving within a cosmopolitan network that linked painters, writers, musicians, and collectors. He maintained friendships with important cultural figures, and his rapport with Matisse became especially notable in later accounts. Pallady's attachment to Romanian visual culture endured even while he inhabited the artistic capital of France. This dual belonging gave his art a rare tension. It was informed by Parisian sophistication, but grounded in a distinctly Romanian sensibility, one attentive to stillness, inwardness, and emotional reserve. Art historians often describe Pallady as a painter of intimacy, silence, and tranquility. Those terms are apt, but they should not be mistaken for weakness or passivity. His art is intimate because it turns away from bombast and toward concentrated perception. It is silent because it rejects easy narrative and instead invites sustained looking. It is tranquil because Pallady preferred balance to agitation. Yet within that quiet world there is great intensity, a subtle vibration of color, a sensitivity to the emotional charge of spaces and objects, and at times a faint irony. His subjects were varied, but his deeper subject was almost always the act of ordering experience through form. In that sense, Pallady belongs among those modern artists who transformed everyday motifs into vehicles for reflection and distilled visual thought. The Second World War altered the geography of his life. After decades of moving between France and Romania, Pallady returned definitively to Bucharest around 1939 to 1940. There he spent the last phase of his life, increasingly recognized as a master of Romanian art. In 1956, the same year as a major retrospective exhibition devoted to him, he received the title of Honored Master of Art. He died in Bucharest on the 16th of August, 1956, closing a career that had stretched from the late 19th century into the fully modern age. His long trajectory allowed him to witness and absorb enormous artistic change, yet he remained unmistakably himself from first to last. Pallady's legacy has only grown with time. He is now regarded as one of the major architects of Romanian modern painting, not because he founded a school in any narrow sense, but because he demonstrated how modernity could be joined to measure, intelligence, and inner necessity. His name endures in the Theodor Pallady Museum in Bucharest, housed in the historic Melik House, where a substantial group of his paintings and more than 800 drawings and engravings from his Paris years are preserved. That survival is fitting. Pallady was never an artist of noise or spectacle. His greatness lies in refinement, in the gravity of line, in the disciplined lyricism of color, and in the rare ability to make painting feel both cultivated and deeply personal. In the history of Romanian art, he stands as a master of lucid modernism and of the poetic interior life of form.